All right, thank you for joining the RTC Specification Subcommittee meeting. Chair Jeremy Levitt, staff is ready for you to begin.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Chair Jeremy Levitt for the record. I'd like to call to order the September 9th, 2020 meeting of the RTC Specification Subcommittee. RTC staff will begin with a roll call of subcommittee members, introduce staff on the line, and touch on a few housekeeping items.
Thank you, Chair Levitt. David Gloria, Management Analyst for the RTC for the record. I will be calling your name in alphabetical order. Please confirm your attendance as I read your name. Brandon Bentley.
Here.
Shane Dennett.
Here.
Jimmy Floyd.
Here.
Clint Fuji.
Here.
Jim Keene.
Here.
And Chair Jeremy Levitt.
Here.
Thank you. Also, please note that we have a few RTC staff on the line for today's meeting. This includes Mr. Joe Damiani, Manager of Engineering, Ms. Gina Kendall, Principal Project Engineer, and Ms. Julia Yuravich, Senior Project Engineer. As the Chair mentioned, I have a few housekeeping items to go over. When the Chair asks for comments from the subcommittee or calls for a vote, please remember to unmute yourself before speaking. Remember to state your name for the record before providing comment. Be sure to mute your line if you are not speaking. Voting will be done verbally. The Chair will call for ayes and nays. If there are no nays, then the motion will carry. If there are nays, then a roll call vote will be required. In the event of a roll call vote, please wait for your name to be read to provide your vote. The Chair will call for any comments or questions after an item has been presented. Thank you, Chair Levitt.
Thank you. Mr. Damiani, for the first item, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chair Levitt. Joe Damiani, RTC, for the record. Chair Levitt and members of the subcommittee, the first item on your agenda is to conduct your first citizens participation period. As you know, on March 22nd, 2020, the State of Nevada Executive Department issued Declaration of Emergency Directive 006, which suspended the requirement to have a physical location for public meetings. Pursuant to Directive 006, and for the health and safety of the community, this meeting is being held telephonically. To allow for public participation, the RTC is accepting public comments via email at publiccomments@rtcsnv.com. This can be submitted to be read aloud or to be added directly to the written record. Mr. David Gloria will read the public comments received by the RTC.
Thank you. This is the first time set aside for public comment. This time is limited to comments on items included on the agenda. Comments will be limited to the first 500 words, with the remaining words to be included in the written record. Do we have any comments?
Thank you, Chair Levitt. David Gloria for the record. There are no comments received at this time.
Thank you. Moving on, Mr. Damiani for item number 2.
Thank you, Chair. Joe Damiani, RTC. Item number 2 is to approve the minutes. The minutes are in order and ready for your approval.
Are there any comments or questions from the subcommittee? If there are no questions or comments, do we have a motion to approve?
Jim Keene, Boulder City. I'll move to approve.
Okay, thank you, Jim. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to the next item. Item number 3, approve revisions to Uniform Standard Specification Section 703 bituminous materials. Joe Damiani, would you like to explain that for us?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Joe Damiani, RTC. There were some changes brought to the attention of the subcommittee at its last meeting, And these revisions will clear up some of those issues. In section 703, staff would recommend that you approve the proposed revisions and authorize staff to send the changes to the Executive Advisory Committee.
Are there any comments or questions from the subcommittee?
Yeah, this is for the record. This is Jimmy Floyd, Clark County Public Works. There's some changes. We just kind of wanted to read into the record to be consistent with materials that are being used consistently. So I'll read in those changes. So the changes that we'd like to make are on table 10 under column, I guess 4 under Civ 10. It shows there as 0.10. That is correct. Under 24-hour storage stability, it shows note 1 to be struck, but we'd like to leave note 1 there. Under residual from distillation at 400 degrees Fahrenheit percentage, the change was, it shows residue by distillation at 400 degrees Fahrenheit percentage by weight. Then superscript 2, it should be residue from distillation at 400 degrees Fahrenheit percentage, superscript 2. On the viscosity at 77 degrees Fahrenheit, SSF, the standard I kind of was proposed shows ASTO T59, but we'd like to leave it as ASTM D88. And then oil portion from distillation was going to be struck and changed to percent by volume. It should say oil portion from distillation. Strike the milliliters of oil per 100 grams emulsion. Change the superscript from 2 to 3. And then strike out the minimum of 63 as it's shown, and leave the max value as shown in what was proposed. Test on residual from distillation. The proposal shows solubility in TCE, shows NTCE to be struck. We'd like that to remain, but strike out the superscript 3. And then kind of the bottom, the notes, basically, well, from the original standard, I guess, what was proposed, you had note 1, 2, 3, and 4 being struck, and then an addition, revised note 1. We'd like that to read separately, where under table 10, the first note, it just says, note, polymer shall consist of either styrene, I guess it's butadiene styrene, SBS type polymer, milled into the base asphalt, or styrene, butadiene, rubber, SBR, latex blended or added at the milled head during the emulsification process. The emulsion shall be homogeneous and uniform, showing no separation. The emulsion supplier shall not add polymer or any other modifier after the product is manufactured and placed in the transport vehicle. Leave note 1 as it was previous. Note 2 will change to, it looks like 3. Strike ASTM D44 with modifications to include at. Then we'll start at 400 degrees Fahrenheit plus or minus 10 degrees F, maximum temperature to be held for a period of 15 minutes. Strike alternatively as ASTM D244, sections 21 through 27. Leave residue by evaporation may be utilized as surrogate procedure. Add in the additional language with approval by the engineer. Leave in the language, however, residue by distillation is preferred. It shall be used as the reference procedure. And then strike note 3. Strike the first part of note 4 from ASTM E5976 all the way to use in pavement construction. Add in the additional language, the water bath for the test shall be, strike the language section 6.2 with the exception of elongation at 20 centimeters, and then add additional language at strike test, leave in temperature. Strike is, add additional language of 50 degrees Fahrenheit plus or minus 1 degrees Fahrenheit. So note 4 will read, the water bath for the test shall be at a test temperature of 50 degrees Fahrenheit plus or minus 1 degree Fahrenheit, or 10 degrees centigrade plus or minus half a degree centigrade. That's it.
Okay, if I can, before we vote on that, Jeremy, if I'd like to, so I got notes of what you said. I'm sure Julia took some notes and Gina as well. We will confirm internally what you just wrote, revise it. I think it's pretty straightforward. We will send it to you, Jimmy, for a review before we send it out. But I will basically like to recommend that you approve the proposed revisions as modified, as read in by Clark County, and we will send that out for clarification before, and then authorize staff to confirm those changes and send them to the Executive Advisory Committee.
Okay, are there any other comments, questions? Or do we have a motion to follow staff recommendation with the addition of the modifications that Jimmy read in, that we will verify at a later time? I need a motion.
This is Shane Dennett, City of Henderson. Move to approve.
Hi, this is David with the RTC. I just wanted to clarify, Shane, are you just moving to follow staff recommendation, or do you move to approve the specification as written?
As read in, and that will be confirmed as Joe noted.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. All right, the motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to the next item. Item number 4, approve revisions to Uniform Standard Drawings 217.3.S1, residential curb and gutter R type, and 223 residential driveway. Joe?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Joe Damiani, RTC. North Las Vegas has stated that this drawing is no longer used in their jurisdiction. Therefore, they are requesting to be removed from the drawing. Staff recommends that you approve the proposed revisions and authorize staff to send the changes to the Executive Advisory Committee.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions from the subcommittee?
Yeah, this is Jimmy Floyd with Clark County. So this agenda item, is it covering all the drawings?
No, just the 217.3.S1 and 223.
Yeah, I guess kind of. I sent this to our design group and to traffic to discuss. You know, we've had issues with these driveways. We've found some success by setting not only maximum slopes but also minimum slopes. Just, you know, to kind of deal with dimensions of cars and making sure they can get on there. It's been a challenge for us. I guess the request from our other divisions at Clark County is that we receive these drawings a month in advance if possible, so they can review them, because, given our current staffing and workload, a week is really not sufficient for us to kind of run through all the comments internally. So I know this is a request from, it looks like North Las Vegas, to just delete their names from these, and that's fine, but I think these drawings, they do need to be corrected.
Well, if I could, Jimmy, Joe Damiani, RTC, typically what would happen if North Las Vegas was sending in a request to make an actual physical change to the drawing, then this item would have been in here for discussion, and we probably would have sent it out earlier for review, and we would have been discussing it on this. But this is, since it's just a removal of their item, there's no physical changes to the drawing. Now, ultimately, we are going to be reviewing the entire Blue Book through a working group, and that's where we can make the real wholesale changes to these, unless there's something that you know of right now that you would like to make a change on. But this was simple. The reason we didn't send this one out, because it was just simply North Las Vegas just didn't want, they wanted their name taken off of it. So that's why it came across as is.
Okay.
So right now we're only, you're only voting on the removal of North Las Vegas from these two drawings.
Okay. No further comment.
Okay, thanks. Are there any other comments or questions from the subcommittee? All right, there are no more questions or comments. Do we have a motion to follow staff recommendation?
Brandon Bentley, I would make a motion to follow staff recommendations.
All right, thank you, Brandon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. All right, the motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to the next item. Item number 5, approve revisions to the uniform standard drawings with respect to current accessibility best practices within the right-of-way. I'll turn that over to you, Joe.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Joe Damiani, RTC. This is the next round of recommended revisions to the standard drawings with regard to the accessibility best practices within the right-of-way. As you know, we've been going through the standard drawings in batches, and this is our last batch before we do a wholesale review of the book in terms of for completeness. So with that, I will read each drawing, summarize proposed changes, and if you have any questions or comments, you can do so after I introduce the drawing. For all drawings, I'll read through them all first, and then we can discuss them after the fact. So drawing 244.9.S1, bicycle lane delineation, legend and signage. We are recommending adding note number 10 to refer the reader to drawing number 249 for the information regarding the placement of any signs. Drawing 249, standard street name signpost installation. We are recommending revising the notes as shown and removing any specifics for the foundation, where we refer the reader to drawing 249.1. Drawing 249.1, sign installation detail. We are recommending adding note 10, again, to provide specific instructions when a sign is installed in the sidewalk, and revise the detail information. Drawing 255.2, typical transition section from shared use path along roadway to sidewalk. We are recommending this drawing be removed from the standards. It is determined that each case needs to be designed by the engineer. Drawing 724, type I foundation. We are recommending remove references to conduit that will be specific on the plan. Add an option for the grounding. Remove the dimension from the curb, and adding note number 6 to provide specific instructions when the foundation is installed in the sidewalk. Drawing number 725, type J and K foundations. we are recommending adding note 7 to provide specific instructions when the foundation is installed in the sidewalk. Add a grounding option, and we are replacing the dimension behind the curb with the term sidewalk. Drawing 745, 30-foot pole, a school flashing sign. We are recommending adding note number 4 to provide specific instructions when the pole is installed in a sidewalk with some various details. Drawing 763, ITS communication conduit and pull box for existing curb and gutter. Sheet 1 of 2 and sheet 2 of 2. It was previously recommended to remove this drawing. However, it was requested by industry that we leave this drawing as is. Therefore, we are recommending to not remove this drawing at this time. And this item will be discussed when we review the entire Blue Book specifications. It's come to our attention that this is more of a design criteria that they actually use the drawing for. So we will address that at that time. The use of this drawing, with the working group. Drawing 764, ITS communication conduit and pull box detail under new sidewalk. We are recommending adding a note to address the vertical discontinuities. Drawing 805, pedestrian push button post for special sign, 8-foot 6-inch high, sheet 1 of 2. We are recommending this drawing be removed from the standards. And sheet 2 of 2, we are recommending this drawing be revised to reflect current practices as redlined. The following drawings are also recommended to be removed from the standards. Drawing 885, pole location and signal mounting intersection, 2-pole curbside sidewalk, sheets 1 and 2 of 2. Drawing 886, pole location and signal mounting intersection, 2-pole offset sidewalk, sheets 1 and 2 of 2. Drawing 887, pole locations and signal mounting on right turn islands. Drawing 888.1, teach for pole location case 2. And drawing 888.S1, future pole location S case 1. And with those, Mr. Chairman, we're open for discussion. And if there are none, then staff would recommend that the committee approve the proposed revisions, and we authorize staff to send the changes to the Executive Advisory Committee.
Are there any comments or questions from the subcommittee?
Jimmy with Clark County. Hey, Joe, did this go to ops yet?
Yes, this got approved through ops at its last meeting.
It did.
Yes.
Yeah, it just seems like there's more than just revisions. In accordance with ADA requirements, you have some depth changes in here, and like I previously laid on the previous item, that I really need to sit down with design and traffic and ensure that these revisions to structural and dimensional elements meet their requirements. I think just
well. And let me walk you through that. When we originally sent these through, they only addressed the PROAG. However, the county at ops requested that those changes be made that are addition to the PROAG. So those came from the county. Their traffic division wanted those revisions in there, and we held it 1 month or one meeting at ops to make those changes and get them in. And the county was okay with them at the last ops meeting.
Okay. That's all I need to know.
So I have one question on R805. On the backup, it said we're removing entirely drawing 805 because it shows remove sheet, and then on the backside it showed on sheet 2 just some modifications. The entire 805 in its entirety is getting removed. Is that correct?
No, only sheets 1 of 2 is being removed.
Oh, okay.
And it's going to be revised as just drawing.
I see. Okay.
805 will then just remove sheet 2 of 2 and just be sheet 805 with the proposed revisions.
Oh, okay, I got it. That's it. All right. Are there any more questions or comments? All right. Do I have a motion to follow staff recommendation?
Jim Keen, Boulder City, move to follow staff recommendation.
All right, thanks, Jim. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed say nay. All right, the motion carries. Now the next item, item number 6, receive a report regarding the current status of revisions to the uniform standard specifications and drawings. This is to you, Joe.
Yeah, yes, Mr. Chair. Joe Damiani, RTC. This is a standing item to provide you with an update on where revisions to the standard drawings and specifications are within the system. There is no action necessary for this item, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, are there any comments or questions from the subcommittee? All right, hearing none, we can move on to the next item, Mr. Damiani.
Yes. Item number 7 is to discuss topics of interest. This is the opportunity for the subcommittee members to share updates or information with other members.
All right, are there any members on the subcommittee that would like to share anything?
Mr. Chair, Joe Damiani, RTC. I would like to just remind the subcommittee that the November meeting is canceled since it falls on Veterans Day. So our next meeting will be January in 21.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? All right, we can move on to the next item then. Thank you, Mr. Damiani. Item number 8, citizen participation.
Yep, the last item is citizen participation. This is the second. That's you, Jeremy.
Oh, this is the second time set aside for public comment. Just a reminder that comments will be limited to the first 500 words, with the remaining words to be included in the written record. Do we have any comments?
Thank you, Chair Levitt. David Gloria again for the record. There are no comments received at this time. Thanks.
All right, thank you. If there are no additional comments, I will close the item. And if there's nothing else, then this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.